talking about is how to implement the tasks in your business. And I know that may sound so boring unless you're like me and you have a to-do list about 3,600 lines long, items long. Prioritize, because I do prioritize my to-do list. I probably have 300 priority 1 out of 10. And so somebody like myself to be able to hire someone like Patrice would be a perfect fit, a perfect scenario. Now, a couple of areas that, every business kind of has to have their compelling argument. I'm going to throw out the compelling argument on Patrice's behalf here, is that 80% of business startups go out of business within about 2 years. So what that means is there's certain qualities that you want to look for in a business. If you have made it past the 2-year mark, congratulations. It's like making it past the 7-year itch in marriage. But I can almost guarantee if you've made it past the first 2 years in business that you took your vision, you put it down on paper, had some kind of a business plan, had some kind of a marketing plan, and some kind of a to-do list that you are working on getting completed, and that you have some kind of an accounting system to be able to know what your net profits are, what your gains and losses are, and what your net profits are. So those are the things that make up a small business and kind of the building blocks of a small business. But they are also what make up the building blocks of a successful business, or at least one that makes it past the first 2 years. So if you're a startup, you definitely need Patrice, and she can help out in the creation of all of these areas. So Patrice, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do to help small businesses in this area?
Well, first of all, I kind of review what their plan is, if they have a plan. Because a lot of times I'm finding companies don't actually have a plan.
A vision, but not a plan.
A vision, but not a plan. So, and vision is great, because it starts with a vision, but then you need to map that out and be very detailed in your plan and what what it is that you want to accomplish, and then set goals. I would always suggest people to have a 6-month goal, a 1-year goal, a 2-year goal, and just down the line, because those goals help you to really visualize where you're taking your business. And if you need to change up that plan, please don't, because no plan is set in stone. You never know what types of circumstances that may come in. You may have to make some changes or do something a little different. You never know what the market is going to be like. So, just like with the recession here in the last couple of years, a lot of people thought they were going a certain way, and then all of a sudden, the bottom fell out, and they needed to change some things. So, first, I'd say start with a plan, some type of plan, but write it down. Not just think about it, but actually write it down and set daily goals. Every day you should be doing something to move your business forward. One of the things that I find is a lot of people don't keep good records. Licensing, for one. You need a business license, depending on the type of business you're doing. And now some of the cities, even when you're a home-based business, a lot of times some cities didn't require you to have a business license because it was a home-based business. But now they are. So one, you got to make sure you get your business registered. And this is the thing that I find a lot of people do. They'll register it and then they'll forget that there's a yearly registration. So you need to put a tickler together to remind you to renew that registration.
Also, word to the wise, if you are going to have a home business, get your permission for it first, because if you have a neighbor who doesn't like your home business and may have a different vendetta against you because, I don't know, you built a fence up in the wrong area and they're fighting you for other reasons, then they can actually block you from, because you actually have permission. In many cases, you have to have permission from your neighbors. So it's much easier to get permission from your neighbors before you engage or lock horns with them. So do it first. Talk to somebody like Patrice who knows how to help you do that.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of sending a simple letter to your neighborhood to say, and this also is a good marketing strategy, because if people know that you're doing a certain business, they might have a need for your services, and you're right. People usually buy from people that they know, so that would also be a good way to introduce your business as well. The other thing I think that is really important is setting up your books. Now, There's a lot of programs out there that you can do it yourself. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it yourself. I mean, even though the accounting, it may be free, but if you don't set it up right, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble down the line. So I would say hire a bookkeeper. PLR Services do provide bookkeeping services. We also provide consultation. So what I like to do is when I'm consulting with someone and I'm looking at what type of business that they have, I would give them suggestions on what it is, that they would need. So that way they can make an informed decision on whether they would like to engage my services or, if they think they can do it on their own. By all means, I encourage you to do, because when you're a startup, your budget is limited, so, and things cost. But then you need to prioritize, and you need to also look at what is most important to your business at this point in time, or where you're starting at from that starting point. And then later you can go on what we call a maintenance plan, where I would come in and just quarterly take a look and see if there's anything that I could see that you could change or do differently. And bookkeeping service is a lot cheaper than hiring a CPA. I've had people to put everything into a shoebox, what they call shoebox accounting.
Right.
They put it all in the shoebox, and then they take it to their CPA or their accountant, and then they end up paying extreme amounts of money because that CPA has to go through and break all that down, when you could have simply just put your receipts into an Excel spreadsheet. Give you a tip here. Excel is absolutely wonderful, and it's very simple to use. I mean, because you don't have to, put any, use any types of accounting or anything like that. It adds and subtracts for you. So, just putting it into that Excel spreadsheet will help reduce your costs when you have to take it at the end of the year to do your financials. And that also comes to the point of mind, April 15th comes around real fast, and that's the tax deadline, and most small businesses are on that tax deadline. So, it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to prepare all those documents to be able to file your taxes. And so I think it's very important that you have your bookkeeping system, just so set up properly. That way it's an easy process as you go along.
Absolutely. And in retail in particular, I mean, if you don't have a good bookkeeping system and you're in retail, good luck trying to catch up. The rest of us, we might catch up, but we may get in too far into the weeds to catch up. So
Right.
It's like writing in your journal. If you try to go catch up 365 days writing in your journal, you don't remember what happened from day to day. Same with your money in particular.
Right.
And with your journal, it's only you and your posterity that care.
Right.
The IRS cares, and they'll if they come in and audit, you're going to wish you had. So
Absolutely.
definitely the value that you provide is great.
It's also good when you're, like, if you're out and you're purchasing something for, just write there on the receipt, what it is for. If it's a business expense, then write that, and the date and time. Usually the date and time is on the receipt, but, if, say, for instance, I'm meeting with you for lunch, that is a write-off for me, and I'm talking about business, I really, if I just said a few words about business, that isn't a business. I can write 50% of that off.
Now, turn over the receipt, write down on the back of the receipt, for business purpose, make sure.
Absolutely. Write that purpose down, what it was for. And then later, when you have the time, what I would suggest to people, because I know we all are busy, and especially if you're a one-man show business, set, on Outlook, it has a task label there. Put it in as a task. On Wednesday, I'm going to enter all my receipts in.
Absolutely. Getting organized.
From 10 to 3, I'm going to enter all my receipts in, because you may have had a lot of receipts. It may not take you 5 hours to do it, but just in case you've allotted that time. And that, to me, is being organized is one of the key things that I see is small businesses and start. They're not organized. If they had some more organization in place, then they could definitely keep track of everything that they need to get done. So organization is very key.
Consider it your car. If somebody went in and scrambled your engine, would it get anywhere? Absolutely not.
No.
The engine you have to be organized so that your engine gets where it needs to go. go. So Patrice would be a great organizer. If that's the only thing, the number one priority on your to-do list, you have her come in and help you get organized.
Help you get organized. Setting up your files, you know. People still use paper files, and I do too, because sometimes, you know, your computer crashes, you may forget to back up your data.
Heaven forbid.
That's another thing you can put on your task list. Back up your computer. You know, and you can also set automated backups on your computer where it will automatically back up your system. So also set system restore points, because if you get a virus or something like that, you can go into your system restore and restore it back prior to that virus.
And
that's another little tip too.
Don't think just because you paper carbonite that or a similar program that that you should that you're covered. You know, we actually had a situation where carbonite. We were so glad that we had carbonite because we lost a computer when we went to pull it back. They said, well, you know, we backed it up after it crashed, and so we lost everything. Whereas if there had been some previous backups, we might inside the computer we might have been able to take the hard drive and recover it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's a hard lesson to learn.
Oh, that's a hard lesson.
I had to learn that myself. I had over 5,000 contacts. And
yes,
it wasn't because I forgot, but my computer guy, we didn't communicate. I thought that he was going to back the system up, and he thought that I was going to back the system up, and nobody backed the system up. So
wow, that's when the Glocks came out.
Yeah, like, oh, you know. So just very important thing to do is making sure that you're organized, and the little tasks that you think you'll get to later. Sometimes later is too late.
Yeah. No.
So just making sure you set a daily reminder of things that you need to do. I have this little sheet. I use my computer a lot, and I'm on the computer a lot. But my to-do list, you know.
Absolutely.
I write those things down because I know with my brain in overload most of the time.
Yep.
I may forget something. If someone tells me, I need you to do this, if I don't write it down, you know, it can be gone.
To-do lists are my sleeping pill, and we're going to find out what that means after the break. We're right up against our break. And don't go away. We'll tune in and find out how to handle to-do lists and other more exciting things when we come back.